Welcome back to How to Make a TV Show Without a Studio. My name is Imeldha, writer, director, producer, and professional side girl both in emotion and social anxiety. This is Michael Iloni Hona, writer, director, producer, and he's also...
I am also the fourth member of Paramore for one night. I was on stage with Paramore and Hayley Williams, and I'm really proud about it. Top 3 best moments in life.
Top 3?
Top 3. Yeah, not 3. It's not
top 3, not 3. Okay, what's 2?
Getting married.
Oh. 2?
No, getting married. It's like within the 3.
Oh, really?
Getting
and then
married.
What's the other one?
Don't know. Top 3. I don't know. Meeting you. How about that?
Yeah.
Saved it.
Yeah. Just about.
I mean.
You're like, and what's one?
And what's one? You said it's top 3 and not 3. So one of them is number 3.
We don't know what 3 is. But let's carry on.
We are 2 filmmakers passionate about stories, and we're trying to figure out how to make them and get people to see them. What's the title of today's episode, Michael?
It is How to Get People to See Your Work, but the interview.
Amazing. If you haven't had a chance, check out some of our latest episodes, our last episodes, and our last interviews as well. Can you throw us a disclaimer?
Trying to keep all these disclaimers candid, so it always feels different every time. But as usual, this is just mine and Imelda. This is all coming from mine and Imelda's personal experiences with the film industry. We don't believe in giving people 5 steps to become the best filmmakers. We don't believe that we can give you that, but we want to give you as much information as possible to then go away and take it and do your own thing when it comes to film. But please don't take any of our words as Bible, because we're just filmmakers trying to figure it out like everyone else.
Amen. That's good. We are here with the amazing Ana Garanito.
Yeah.
Ooh, and the applause rises. How are you today?
I'm very good. Yeah, happy.
Happy is good. Happy is good.
Yeah, man.
So Ana Garanito is a creative consultant and executive producer with over 20 years experience of working in a creative, commercial and strategic capacity. She has worked with new, emerging and A-list talent from different walks of life to bring clarity, cohesion and flow to their creative aspirations through tailored storytelling, creative mapping and strategic alignment. Most notably, she headed up scripted for Green Door Pictures and Fremantle during their formative years, being responsible for key titles in the growth of both companies. Her credits include co-producer, executive producer, and co-executive producer for projects such as Hijack Season 1 for Apple, A New Divas Christmas Carol for VH1, Concrete Cowboy for Netflix, Turn Up Charlie for Netflix, In the Long Run Seasons 1 to 3 for Sky, and Halfway for Audible. Her uncredited work includes Gorilla, 5x5 and Tree, Merlin and Hit and Miss. Woohoo!
You've worked on a lot of stuff. Now.
Yeah,
that's pretty extensive.
Yeah.
Do you have any favourites? Is it fair to say favourites?
Maybe I would say it would be in the Long Run.
Yeah, great show.
And Concrete Cowboy, and I think that's largely because the stories are brilliant, the creatives are brilliant. Yeah. But also just the community that came together and how we work together.
Yeah.
And some of those relationships still continue. So I'd say those 2 maybe.
Yeah.
Oh, but I love all my babies.
In the long run, like really cool for me, because like it's the first time seeing like a Sierra Leonean family on telly, and like also because I think Idris is split, isn't it? It's like he's Sierra Leonean and Ghanaian, so it was really nice to see the Sierra Leonean like kind of like being like put on telly, because we're so small and like we never really get representation, so I ran to it just because of that, and then loved it. It was a great show.
I feel the same about like Congolese work. I think I'm yet to see like a Congolese story that I can connect to that isn't maybe trauma-y. But I can see why that would be really like
just great to see like to like obviously it does touch on like loads of different things like racism in that time, but like that it's like a comedy with a Sierra Leone family.
And it's joyful as well.
It's so joyful,
because it was a happy time for him.
Exactly.
So that was the whole point. And even when you are touching on those more serious points, we were always encouraged to also find what's funny in them, because sometimes you know, it's quite absurd.
So
absurd is right.
Exactly. But also, like, absurd can be so funny because absurd things happen, and I always end up laughing about it. Like, I can't believe that guy just did that. Yeah. So no, it was great work. I was just gonna say, how does it feel to like hear your bio be
well, it's always weird and awkward, but then at the same time, it sort of brings back lots of nice memories. It's good. We don't often hear ourselves read back to ourselves.
Like a walking CV. So we don't have much questions for our interviews because we want to really kind of have a free-flowing conversation. But how did you get into the industry and why television?
So I had no ins to the industry whatsoever. I was born to Portuguese immigrants who I had no contact. And actually, I'd come out of university and it really kind of began there. It's like your friends at university, you know, we were all cold calling and doing things like that. And then any kind of leads or tips we would share with one another. So everybody sort of pretty much went off in their own direction. And for a long time, I think it's like you grab what you can, don't you? So you have this sort of zigzaggy CV. And actually, I was always a film lover. I was like a complete film buff and I wanted to get into film, but TV were the only ones that were willing to give me opportunities.
Right.
So I remember at some point going, do you know what? Like, why don't I just stick with TV? Because actually at that time, because I think for a time it was almost viewed as an industry. It was sort of viewed as where your career went to die a little bit because everybody obviously wanted to get into film. That's where the money was. That's where the stardom was. But I guess as I was sort of coming into the industry, it was changing a lot. So you had the HBOs, you had Netflix starting, and then suddenly premium content or I guess TV programs and series that had a cinematic quality were being made. And it just completely changed. So actually, TV became the place that creatives went to become prolific and do the best work. And then of course, I guess maybe over the last 10 years, then the film stars have kind of followed, haven't they? Sort of come back into TV. So that was sort of the reason why I went into television, because actually, I just realised that you could be more prolific as a creative in TV, and actually some of the risks were being taken in TV. And I had ended up working at Fremantle, which is it's a production house and it's a distributor, and you get to work with international. So you're always looking to make content that is going to cross lots of borders. So obviously it's not going to be the sort of parochial stuff, even though sometimes you'd have to take that on because that's the bread and butter for some producers. But so in the end, you can make really exciting, amazing things, which of course is a given now. But at that time, it just wasn't.
Hello, everyone. Sorry to stop the video. We are here to talk to you about my favorite breakfast cereal. No, I'm joking. The Kickstarter is out. The Kickstarter is out right now. Please share that. Please share that with your friends, share that with your family. Go down to Kickstarter right now. All the links are in the bio and everything there.
Description box.
In the description box. Please go and do that. Follow us on our TikToks, on our socials and all that. And please...
At Hot Honor.
And please help us get to our goal. You know, we're really trying to make this full TV show, and you can help us. You can help us make 6 absolute episodes, which will be phenomenal. So yeah, please subscribe. Please subscribe, and please
donate
go to the Kickstarter and donate. Let's do please donate. And
please donate. Oh, please donate.
Please
donate.
Let's have that one in. Yeah, that's cool.
Amazing.
Everything was sort of quite traditional. I don't know, almost sort of theatre leaning a little bit, just in the early days until it completely sort of changed. But anyway.
Yeah.
That's super interesting. How have you found the change? Because we were talking in the last episode about like how the commissioning space is changing and how streaming is kind of taking over. How have you found like working in the industry and seeing the years? Like how has it changed for you, and what's your opinion? What's your opinion on it?
I guess, I mean, obviously the budgets have changed, and I guess the international reach has changed. Probably the thing I'd say the most, because I've always tracked what is being made. And when I say that, actually what's being made, but what's being developed, both here in the UK and in the US. And it becomes this sort of thing I do maybe twice a year, where, and it's especially interesting when you see it coming from the US, is how ideas have changed over time. Yeah. So, for example, when I first started just kind of analysing and just sort of taking it in, I don't think the US landscape did many adaptations, for example. I mean, I'm talking like maybe 15 plus years ago.
Yeah.
And also, for example, you know, if they were making science fiction, I used to call it sort of shiny floor science fiction. It was like Battlestar Galactica, that kind of thing, like space science fiction. Yeah. But it certainly wasn't ever anything like fantasy worlds or vampires. I mean, that's something that sort of, again, has happened in the last 50 years. So, you know, when I'd first started, it was much more precinct dramas and I guess procedural, lots of crime detective. That was always the sort of big thing. And I guess over time, the range of ideas just seems to have expanded a little bit. And I know sometimes, certainly in the UK, I think we can feel that the number of subgenres that you can stray into are quite limited. Yeah. But certainly when you're looking at the international market, it has expanded for sure. And I think occasionally it does that here. Maybe not as much as we'd like, but yeah, I'd say the sort of breadth of subgenres is the big change.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think we were talking about like Wednesday and like some of like my favorite shows. I think like there's always been like spaces for like big shows like The Walking Dead, but I feel like a lot, and that had gone for a long time.
Yeah, how long was that? That was like
The Walking Dead was
years,
like,
I think.
10 years. So like that's been going on for ages. But like maybe newer stuff, because I love watching sci-fi stuff, and like not necessarily the shiny floor stuff, but like Snowpiercer or like I love anything that's fantasy, and it's like that has really only come up in the last couple of years.
Yeah. Well, if you just think about Andrew Lincoln in The Walking Dead, I mean, would he have ever made that here? It would never be commissioned here. So he had to go.
Yeah.
To make it. He's become a big star, and he's come back now, and he's on ITV.
We saw him, and I was like, you were like, Rick!
Yeah. Because I love that show. That's not my favorite show ever. But I think, and I think that's always, kind of been the frustration that I've had being in the industry, is that like, for someone that's kind of grown up being really interested in fantasy and different genre stories, it's been really hard trying to like kind of sell those to commissioners, or trying to even just like pitch them, because I think sometimes it's like, I don't know, the budgets aren't there, or you need a really big star, or a lot of people are saying like, this show's great, but it's got an American sensibility. And I do wish that we had like space in the British industry where we could grow that a little bit more.
Well, and we used to, and it was BBC Three.
Yeah.
You know, to a certain extent, Channel 4.
True.
Yeah.
So, you know, there was a generation of comedy and of drama. I mean, I can't speak to non-scripted, of course, but, you know, it was experimental, and you would see all sorts of things. And, some things worked and some things didn't. And some of those shows have spawned, you know, the A-list writers of today.
That's very true.
So, we did have it. It feels like it's disappeared a little
bit.
Why do you think that is? Because in the last episode we were sort of talking about the scripted funding crisis that has been sort of pegged as the industry is getting smaller in terms of their ability to distribute money and commission projects. Yeah. And I guess I'm wondering, like, why do you think that we're not seeing as many experimental projects as we used to have, and why the commissioning is not, why the industry is getting smaller in that way?
Well, I guess the budgets are being squeezed. So, you know, whilst those projects are being made, it just feels like there are fewer of them. And then obviously the ones that do well get recommissioned. So that sort of takes up another slot.
Yeah.
And it is important to recommission things because, you know, certainly on shows that I've worked on that have been recommissioned, you do that thing of going, you don't just want to offer a writer, you know, one episode and then that's it. You want them to come back because you want people to see that actually they can come back and do a returning series and have more credit.
Yeah.
So, you know, the recommissions are really important, obviously, but, you know, when there are limited slots and limited budgets, it does take opportunities away from other filmmakers who could do something completely different in completely different genres and sometimes need that platform that is going to give them the time and the space to experiment. I guess maybe also we don't want to see too many failures. I don't know.
Fair enough.
Yeah. In your ideal industry, would you want to see more failures, do you think? Like, because we were talking about, you know, Channel 4 back in the day and like having a lot more sort of experimental kind of projects and BBC Three and everything. Would you, in your ideal industry, are you going, I think it's safer to do a bit like what you know? Or do you think that, like, I don't know, is it worth the risk kind of doing more experimental projects?
I think so. I mean, it's an odd one, isn't it? Because if you have a slot, and listen, I'm not a commissioner, so I don't know how these things are sort of scheduled and worked out, but if you have a slot that people sort of depend on for particular types of content, and you intersperse it with the sort of riskier pieces, like I've seen things on, you know, that sort of BBC 9 p.m. Sunday night slot that I remember going, wow, that's incredible. Or like, you know, when Humans was on Channel 4, I mean, that sort of slightly blew people's minds a little bit.
Yeah.
And you just wouldn't ordinarily expect to see it. And some things worked and some things didn't. But I always appreciated the fact that there was an attempt because, not everything's designed to last for 5 seasons. But But I think it's, look, I mean, we're now obviously living in an age where there is so much content and actually you can now go onto different platforms and pretty much find anything that you want. There's clearly a desire to see a wider range of stories and ideas. I don't know how terrestrial TV or legacy media, as I guess they're calling it, reacts to that. How does it change how it commissions and supports lots of different ideas with limited slots and limited budgets? But,
because I sometimes when talking about it, I feel a little bit like a conspiracy theorist. I feel like I sound like a conspiracy theorist because I wonder. Particularly with the concept of like risk, I always wonder how much of a risk a project will be. Like, because I'm like, I think that the commissioners at the moment, I think they kind of know that, you know, that there is a kind of particular drama that's going to work. There's a particular, like, I think police dramas work really well, detective stuff. I think they know that stuff works and it's tried and tested. But then I always kind of feel like maybe anything could work as long as it's actually just like pushed, because I think that there's a lot of stuff that comes on that isn't necessarily great work, but people still watch it and it still gets the viewership. So I wonder, I sometimes wonder about like the question of risk and is it just risk? Is it risk because of money, or is it because I'm always trying to figure out like is the risk because you're gonna lose the cash? Is losing the cash the worst thing in the world? Are you gonna lose the cash? Like if you promote it like the way that everyone else promotes it, will it work? Are people really not watching these shows? What are the numbers?
Are people really watching the shows?
Yeah.
I mean, again, I can't speak for the commissioning sector. You know, when you're working within a production company and you're building a slate, you know, certainly what I did was always, you kind of look at that slate in percentages a little bit.
Yeah.
There are going to be the pieces that are going to be probably more localized, that are going to be harder to attract international money. That's the bread and butter. Then you have that slightly more genre piece. And then sometimes there was always a percentage of the slate where you go, look, the chances of this getting made are very slim.
Yeah.
But we believe in the writer, or we believe in the idea, and maybe if there's a way of creating other partnerships to support it, that maybe it will find its time.
Yeah.
Because of course, there are lots of famous shows that, people talk about not being made for like 8-9+ years. And sometimes you do pull people together and an idea together, and it just doesn't work out. And listen, I've seen it. I've seen things that were pitched to me when I was at Fremantle that went on to be big hits. But just at that time, we just couldn't see how it was going to work.
100%.
But sometimes you do make that decision at the wrong time, and then it works out. So it swings and roundabouts.
It's kind of like alchemy, isn't it? It's just like in your experience, Anna, what is the difference between projects that have had eyes on them and projects that have not? Like, where do you?
Well, look, there's nothing more gutting than working really hard on something and the people who do get to see it love it, and then just not enough people see it. Because you're like, look, you make it because you want as many people to see it as possible.
Of course.
So that's probably the main difference. It's just, and you think about all the people involved in that project. It's not just wanting the project to be seen, but obviously you want opportunity to happen for everybody involved.
100%.
Because you're always wanting to sort of pay it forward and make sure that people go on to have successful careers. So, it's so much easier to have those conversations when you walk into a room and, it's adolescence and everyone's seen it.
Exactly.
Versus, a small comedy series that, a handful of people have seen, and you're having to sort of say to them in not so many words, trust me, it's brilliant. It's very well written. You immediately have shorthand, don't you, with the other ones. So that's, obviously that's the big difference.
Do you think that there is like, I don't know, like kind of jumping off that question, just what is the marker of, okay, people haven't seen this, in your experience, like people haven't seen this particular project, let's call it Project Green Eyes, for example. People haven't seen Green Eyes. It's just as good as Brown Eyes. But people have not watched Brown Eyes, but people have seen Green Eyes. Like, is it marketing? Is it like the platform that it goes on? Is it...
It's probably all the above,
right?
A little bit, absolutely. I mean, the platform first and foremost, and then how the platform markets it, because obviously there are some broadcasters that you can make shows for, and it might be subscriber based. It might just be like this is who comes to our channel, and this is who we're going to market it to. And of course, you're there kind of going, but like there are so many more people we'd love to market it to.
Of course.
Who maybe don't subscribe or maybe don't ordinarily go to your channel, versus obviously working with a Netflix, when you see that marketing machine in progress, you just kind of go, wow, like this is this is going to get seen. I mean, obviously I know that not everything necessarily gets seen,
but if it's picked and
it's on the coming soon,
if it's on the main, if it's a Wednesday or an adolescence, I was gonna ask actually, because I was thinking about like, if a filmmaker's watching, if I was watching, what would I be asking? And I was like, what's the difference between like the British broadcasters and then like the streamers? So what's the difference between like working with like a BBC or a Channel 4 or a Sky compared to like maybe working with like a Netflix or an Amazon or even like a VH1? Because you've worked with a lot of different companies. Is there any difference that you see there?
Yes, there is. I would say, I mean, obviously, first and foremost, it's money. Is the big difference.
Yeah.
But also the speed at which things happen and the kind of time of goodwill, I think, to allow things to happen. So, sometimes it's the difference between being able to get a story producer on board or have writers' rooms of a meaningful amount of time. Right. Things like that are really important when you're building a series that you want to be returnable and sort of put the time in. And sometimes when there are limited resources, you have to be much more creative with how you build those stories and how you use people's time, because you've only got X amount of days to do it.
Yeah.
So I guess that's one thing. I mean, working with VH1, I mean, it's interesting because it's part of the Paramount machine, and it was just before it kind of went into limbo a bit because of the whole Skydance Paramount thing. And you kind of see that studio go into freeze a little bit, but when they decided to make it just happened really quickly. Yeah. And I wasn't used to that pace, and I kept saying right, we're gonna shoot it in like August, and I was like, are you sure? Because rather soon. And we're gonna do it, and just people came together really quickly, and it happened, and it just felt like it was 9 months, and you were like, and then you delivered it. So I can't remember. It was sort of commissioned. I mean, obviously it had been written a few months before, but from the moment it was commissioned, which might have been sort of May, June for an August shoot, to deliver early December because it was going to be a Christmas film.
Wow. Crazy.
The whole time you're like really?
Yeah. And to get was it like Vivica A. Fox in it as well? It's like, we're just gonna get
amazing Ashanti.
Yeah, Ashanti. Yeah. We're just gonna grab all. It's like all these divas.
Come on, ladies.
Yeah. Mel B.
Yeah, man. Mental.
But it happened. It did. And we delivered it. And I was like, wow, I like this. This I could do again.
Do you think that's like an American thing? Is it a cultural difference? Yeah. Wherein like maybe is the reason why maybe a lot of people are complaining about the British industry is that if you're trying to make exciting, quick work, maybe the American format is for you, but here it's just like everyone's like,
I think
I'm not sure.
I think it's a cultural. I definitely feel like it's a cultural thing, and I think the UK, we're very like traditional when we like to do things by the book, and this is how we do it. We're very safe. This is how we do it, and this is how all of that Larry stuff. We don't really do that. We do things the way that it's supposed to be done.
But then also there's a very particular way in which like television has worked, and there's a particular I believe there's a particular like BBC format or an ITV format, and it's like as long as we stick to that, it will work.
Then it works because their audience is this particular person, and that particular person's going to watch that particular thing. Every Saturday night. And they're going to do that. And I think it's really interesting. And again, bringing in with the internet of how people are going to be able to see work. It's the internet really is kind of sort of throwing a spanner in the works with the traditional way of doing things. And I think that's definitely something I think the internet is shaking up the British way of creating and consuming work, but also just it's really like we need to what's the word? Get ahead of the curve.
Well, it's because I believe it's because like the internet has given us a space we have a potential to connect with a global audience, and the one thing that the commissioners or all the streamers have ever been able to give us is the audience. They're like, we'll make it, we'll package it, we'll market it, and we'll give you the audience and the platform. And when the platform can then be like TikTok, Twitch, YouTube, and it's like I can directly get people. I think now it's like, oh well, I could just like there's people that like it's like millions of people that will just sit down and watch like I don't know Kai Cenat eat an apple and be like, whoa, this is amazing. Yeah, do you know what I mean? Eat another one. You know what I'm saying? And I think and sometimes I think maybe because that generation of like Gen Zers that are TikToking, I think because they're quite young, sometimes maybe it's naive of me to say, but I feel like maybe they're a bit naive to how much influence they actually have.
Right, yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Because it's like I feel like it's like they have got the eyes or they've got more eyes than Netflix do. Or they've got more eyes than the BBC.
Generation,
than the BBC does. And I think that when you have a free platform...
Well, I think that's why when we sort of watched some projects and you can tell that a non-Gen Z person has written this script.
Yes,
you're like, oh no, they're trying to put in Gen Z words. And
yeah.
Oh God, this isn't good.
Hey man, let's go and do some riz.
Yeah, it's like,
It's like,
hey man, skibbity.
And
it's like right. Also, I don't know, do Gen Z say skibbity, or is that a thing that people are saying that Gen Z do, but they don't do? I've never heard that before.
I've like seen some comedians. There was a comedian who was on stage, and she's like, "I'm a Gen Zer, skibbity." Like I don't know if that's like sarcastic or whatever, but I thought it was funny. But I don't know if they do say it.
Well, I was going to say, sort of going back to the point, depending on the platform and the broadcaster, it sort of depends how many people have to look at, read the script before it can be commissioned, look at the edits. And the big difference, of course, is when you're working online, there's just you and your team, whoever that is, and then the audience. So you better be good. You better have a great idea because actually the transaction is sort of quite simple, isn't it?
Exactly.
Whereas... I mean, look, it's the difference between having 10 people who need to have a say versus 5 people who need to or 2 people. You know? So I think that's also a big thing.
A big thing, and I think that it does mean that, and I think that one thing that maybe the broadcasters and the streamers are able to kind of do through like news is kind of be like, well, this is a kid's thing and the projects aren't actually that good. And it's a YouTube thing, but it's not Wednesday. Look at the budget. We put $400 million into this, and there's Lady Gaga. Do you know what I mean? So like, can they do that?
Came in at the end.
Don't say anything because I'm only up to episode 5.
Sorry. No spoilers.
Sorry, no spoilers.
But then the argument to that is like, I was like, Kaisa Nat is doing like his Mafia-thon 3, which is like, and he does like these things where it's like, I don't really watch them. I just the thing with him is like I don't watch the full videos. I just watch clips. So and he has like a clip channel where it's like just all of the highlights. And he did one where he had like Keke Palmer on it, Marlon Wayans, Kalani. I think Will Smith not Will Smith, Kevin Hart has gone on there, and he just has all of these celebrities come on and just like spend the day with him. And I was watching this thing where Marlon Wayans and Kalani, and I was like, when would you ever put Marlon Wayans and Kalani
what?
do you know what I mean? Marlon Wayans like from White Chicks and Kalani the R&B singer in the same room, but then they're all like and then there was this really lovely moment where Marlon Wayans is playing Ribbon in the Sky by Stevie Wonder, and Kalani's like about to cry because like she's like, oh, that's the song, that's like the song that reminds me of my dad. And I was like, I don't think that there is a producing team going, oh, if we do this and do this thing, but like a moment is just captured, and I think that's really interesting because I think they're just doing.
But I also feel like, I think that's a really interesting point because I feel like there's something about online sensibilities kind of favouring the candid, the open, the honest, the live stream. Where there are so many variables. But we're doing it anyway. We're putting it out anyway. We're not packaging things in a really clean, neat, structured way. We're just kind of saying, this is what's happening right now. We don't know if it's going to work.
I'm going to listen to an album.
And
people are watching him listen to an album.
I genuinely think that people are maybe, I don't know whether it's a generational thing, but people are sort of saying, I'm living this life and I want to witness someone live this life. Not... I want to witness someone tell me how perfect things need to be, if that makes sense. And I feel like that kind of touches back on the traditional ways of doing things because it's like, oh, they're packaging this thing to me. But because we're so online and we know how things work, we have this sort of like background information on who played a part in making this thing, which we didn't before. It's now like, oh, a random person, the writing in that is like this. And it's like, oh, usually it's this illusion that, this is, a project that we've made. But now people know the
about
ins
editing.
and outs of it.
Because
the transparency of things is like so transparent.
Well, and I think we've spoken about this a lot with you, Anna, where it's like, the internet really does feel like the Wild Wild West now. And it's interesting because I feel like it's just the potential of what it can be because it's just so open and free for now. But like, like it reminds me of like, I keep thinking in regards to film, the internet can really be what it was for like Tarantino in the 90s, or what 90s independent cinema was. But I wanted to ask, do you think there is a place for independent TV online?
Yes, no, absolutely. And you know, just as you were talking now, I was sort of thinking, you know, it's easy to frame everything as, oh, TV does this, and they're saying no to these ideas, and therefore we're going to go over here. But actually, how we're consuming everything is changing, and you know, the streamers are one type of platform for content. Terrestrial's another, you know, YouTube will be another, online socials, whatever. But it all comes down to, we are sort of now living in an age where we expect whatever our heart desires, we expect to go and find it. And if we don't find it on Netflix, we don't find it on the BBC, we might find it on YouTube. We might not. And there is a lot, obviously there's a lot. And some things work and some things don't. That's the way it's always been.
Of course.
You know, you kind of think about like cable TV and those sort of 22 episode runs. And, you know, I was always like, no, that's not my thing. I'm always about cable, and I want like smaller runs, but like top notch, prestigious stuff. That was just me. But, you know, even for me, going back to the credits and thinking about the past, you know, all I ever did was consume scripted content. And actually now I realise I'm sort of challenging myself to go, I'm not 100% scripted all the time actually anymore. That I'm watching things and listening to things, but lots of different types of things. And to me, you know, what epitomises everything is when I go and visit my 77-year-old Portuguese mum who always used to have the TV on, doesn't have the TV on anymore. I walk in and it's on YouTube and it's Julio Iglesias videos, because that's what she decides she wants to see. She doesn't want to see Homes Under the Hammer. And that's fine. You can go and do that.
100%.
But she's just like, oh, I've learnt now that whatever it is I'm seeking, I can go and get. Absolutely. So it's just... Look, it feels a bit wild and scary, and it's having such an effect on the industry that we know. But I guess the wild, wild west of it all is everything's shifting, and it will settle into these new ways of telling stories. And everything will sit alongside one another. And like always, some things will be rubbish, some things will be great. The surprise hits... why is that a hit? You know, all of it. It will always be the same. I think the difference is obviously online just enables so many more people to succeed.
100%.
And that's the difference, because you're not chasing 10 slots a year or whatever. It's just actually what you're trying to do is think about your audience a lot more rather than the broadcaster in a weird sort of way.
And to be able to have a platform where people can literally comment directly under you and go, we do not like this. And you're like, oh, okay, right, we know what they want. Or you can go, they all dropped off after that advert. Do you know what I mean? You can see the analytics.
You've got that information, which is incredible, actually. But
because like Netflix will never tell you their numbers.
Of course they won't.
But they'll tell you what's number one on Netflix, though. Do you know what I mean? But they'll never tell you the numbers.
So obviously, as you know, we're making Unwritten, and we're making it without a studio. And our final question to you is, in your opinion, how do you make a TV show without a studio?
Well, you know, I was thinking about this, you know, when you have a baby, they always say it takes a village to raise a child. And I think when you birth anything creative, it's a similar thing, isn't it? Look, in changing times, you've got so many different options in terms of how you tell stories and how you produce those stories. And of course, there's the old-fashioned way of calling in favours and doing all of that. But I think, well, as you've said it in your intros, you are multi-hyphenates, which is always a term I absolutely love. But you're entrepreneurs, because you have to have different hats on. And, you know, and I've been in situations in my career where I've been asked to have different hats on, and you kind of go, oh, I just want the one hat so I can just focus and do that properly. And it's like, but actually the different hats just teach you so much more. And especially in a time when things are changing so much, having that entrepreneurial approach to making anything is actually really a solid skill to have. So, I guess, look, it's probably a big answer to that question, and there are probably lots of different answers to give. But I say part of it is that, part of it is the network, and it's not necessarily even about the favours you call in, but actually having that network of contacts so that everybody is supporting one another in what they're doing, because sometimes you've got to be ready to make something without a studio, and then what happens if that works really well? Well, you've got to be ready to continue, and maybe an opportunity comes with that, or financing comes with that, and how are you going to deliver that? So it's almost like you always have to have one eye, like 6 months ahead constantly. So that's sort of really important, and it's not just preparing for the time where you have to do it at budget, but preparing for the time when actually the opportunity arises, the opportunity that you really want arises. But on top of all of that, and I know we've talked about this as well, is you know, people talk about oversaturation of content, and certainly on, you know, a YouTube, you're going to be battling with so many other channels that actually, for you as filmmakers, for your project, and where you're putting it out, it's almost like you kind of have to have a concept slightly bigger than yourself, slightly bigger than just like, hey, we're a couple of crazy kids and just making this thing. It's like, what are people getting behind? Because I think there genuinely is a real feeling of if there aren't opportunities over here, and there are opportunities potentially here, people do want to see each other thrive. So, I mean, I feel that's like a long, rambling answer with no specific points, but it's a tough question to answer. But I think a little bit like you said in your disclaimer, like, you guys are doing it your way. With your skill set and the resources that you have available to you, and the energy and the ambition that you have. But to somebody else, they'll do it in a completely different way.
100%.
And I guess that's how you make something without a studio. That's the joy of it, because actually you don't have to fall in line and follow somebody else's system. But obviously you have to have very strong ideas and competence, obviously, about how you go about it. So and there will just be different people who do it in different ways, and that's great.
100%. That's a really good answer. I want to piggyback off that just a little bit, because you're so right that, like, particularly just starting with like your network, and I think the first thing that you need to do, and it's the hardest thing that everyone does, and it's the kind of thing that I have this phrase that's like separating the sheep from the goats. I don't know which one's the right one, which one you want to be.
Goats are greedy.
The goats are greedy. So let's go to sheep. So if you want to be a sheep, in my perspective, I always think that, like, the first thing that has to happen is that your content has to be good. You got to believe in the thing that you're working on, and I think a lot of us believe in the stuff that we're working on. But, like, you need people that are going to be able to push you and that are going to be able to actually, like, because there is a form, and I think that, and I believe that if you're going to go against the form, you still need to understand what the form is. And I think, again, there's many ways to make work, but in my perspective, I think understanding the form is really important, and I think that we got to do both of those things, like just working with you, being friends with you, and talking to you, and you've been so generous with us, like when we were two young writers making an Audible series, and you would come back with your notes, like it like stretched us, like the red line stretched us. It was like, oh God, yeah, you did this really great thing that I always have in my mind now whenever I'm writing anything episodically. It's like me and Imeldha we would be writing our episodes, and then you were like, if you just take this bit that you put at the beginning of the movie and you just put it in episode 1 and you just move this over here, you've got it. And I was like, I've never even thought about writing like that.
But I also feel like that's really interesting because it came from writing for like commissioners or pitching it. Writing for commissioners, pitching it, rather than writing for people to see it.
Yeah.
And I feel like you had made things and you were like, this is what people want to see. This is the beats in which they want to see, rather than us putting our like golden nugget at the beginning. Because when people read the work it gets on their desk, they're like, oh yeah, I want to invite them in for a meeting, if that makes sense. So we were putting all of our golden nuggets in the beginning because we were like, you like it, right? You want to invite us in for a meeting, right? But you were like, no, take that golden nugget and put it at the end, because then people are going to go next episode. And I think that inadvertently gave us a confidence to be like, this is going to get made because it's good, not because I've put all my, golden nuggets up at the top, if that makes sense.
Well, and sometimes we complicate story by trying to not reveal too much or put the golden nugget right at the beginning, and sometimes it's that can be a bit frustrating as a viewer, and it can be frustrating as a reader. And like you said, it was a commission, so you're not having to dazzle anyone to let you walk into the room. You're making something now, so actually you just need to tell the story and not lose people, because of course it was an audio series and it wasn't a visual series. So you have to grab people's attention in a slightly different way. And
to almost to wrap up, I think what's great about what you're saying and who you are is that I think it proves that for anyone who wants to try and make a TV show without a studio, try and do things independently, like find your Ana Garanitos, like genuinely,
I agree,
and
well, it's a champion, isn't it?
Find your champions, like find people that have the experience,
because she's ours.
that have for real, like don't email her. No, I'm joking. But genuinely, like find the people that have kind of championed you and ask them questions and go to them with the silly ideas of, we went to Ana and we went, hey, we want to make a TV show, and hey, we're gonna do this Kickstarter. Please subscribe to that and put some money down. But we actually were just like, here's the idea, and you're helping us. And there are lots of people in the industry that want to just hear good projects, and they want to help. So if this is part of Encouragement Corner, go out there and ask the people and learn the format, learn the project, learn the problems. Don't just complain about them. Learn what they are. Learn the ins and outs of them. Learn why these problems. Because we came into the industry just going into buildings and being like, we were in it was 2017, and we're like, there's not enough diversity in television, and they were and everybody was like, yeah, I know, but we didn't have anything else. We didn't have anything else to give them. And then when we started to work in the industry and work with people like you, we were still saying the exact same things, but with more knowledge and with more information to then take away and plan and alchemize and then come back and be like, oh, we're thinking of this. And when your champion goes, that's great, fucking run with it.
Yeah.
Well, and I think the other thing that you're doing as well is you're going to sometimes very experienced people or A-listers and saying, this is our experience as emerging filmmakers. And they're saying, well, we're established filmmakers and we're having the same problems. And actually you're forming a connection. So this goes back to the network and the community and all of that. That helps to find your champion as well, 100%. Because you're not just making something, you're trying to forge a different way.
Exactly.
This isn't just like, we're making a short film, or we'll send it to some festivals. That's fine too.
There's nothing wrong with that. But
no, absolutely.
But building something big takes a lot of work. And I'm really with that. That's great. That's great.
Okay.
Yeah. Amazing.
Yeah, man.
So thank you so much for coming and answering our questions.
Yes, thank you, Anna.
Thank you for having me.
No worries,
man. Thanks, guys, for tuning in again. Please donate to our Kickstarter. We'll link it below.
Yes.
Follow us, subscribe if you like our vibe. Subscribe, and we will be back next week with another video and another interview.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Bye.
Bye. That's really good.
Yeah?
That's good.
Oh my God.
Like, what time is it?